And welcome to Political Update on Ogun State Television. I am Simiat Abaru. With the 2027 general elections approaching, concerns over credibility are resurfacing, and at the center of it all is the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. A recent report by Yaga Africa indicates that public confidence in the electoral body remains divided, particularly over the issue of electronic transmission of results. Although President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has signed amendment to the Electoral Act, critics argue that stronger legal backing for real-time result transmission is essential to rebuild trust. And just like a saying that democracy thrives not just when people vote, but when they believe in the process. But before we go deep into the discussion, let's get to watch some political stories this week. Please stay with us.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu has signed the Electoral Bill 2026 into law, bringing the new Electoral Act into immediate effect and setting the stage for the preparation towards the 2027 general elections. Tinubu describes the legislation as a major contribution to electoral sanity, stressing that Nigeria's voting process remains largely manual and must be safeguarded against technological glitches, hacking, and infrastructure limitations. The new law replaces the Electoral Act 2022, previously invoked by the Independent National Electoral Commission. The Rivers State House of Assembly has suspended the impeachment proceedings against Governor Simlai Fubara and his deputy, Ngozi Ojo, following the intervention of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu earlier this month. The decision to halt the process was taken on Thursday during the plenary as the Assembly resumed sitting in Port Harcourt, the state capital. Speaking during the plenary, Speaker Martin Amawule informed the House that the withdrawal of the impeachment proceedings follows the intervention of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He also informed the House that all court cases filed by the governor, his deputy, and the Rivers State House of Assembly have been withdrawn.
Impeachment process against the governor and deputy governor following the intervention of the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Mr. Speaker also highlighted the terms of the agreement, number one, which is that all previous agreements entered with the House and the Governor will be kept by the Governor.
The Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria has rejected President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's newly signed executive order mandating the direct remittance of oil and gas revenues to the Federation account, describing the directive as a dangerous precedent capable of undermining the Petroleum Industry Act and eroding investors' confidence in the sector. Pengerson asked Tinubu to immediately recall the order to avoid sending wrong signals to the investors, saying an executive order cannot set aside a law.
The executive order that was signed by the President yesterday is in direct attack of the provisions of the PIA. The provisions of the PIA are Section 8 of the PIA, Section 9 of the PIA, and Section 64 of the PIA. It's a direct attack. What the President has done is that he has used an executive order to set aside a law of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is exactly what the President has done. And this is quite troubling because what are we telling the investors? What are we telling the international community? What is the signaling that we are sending out there? That just with an executive order, you can set aside the law of the land.
The former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai was detained at the headquarters of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in Abuja after hours of interrogation over an alleged 432 billion naira corruption probe. El-Rufai, a chieftain of the African Democratic Congress, is also expected to face criminal prosecution over the illegal bugging of the National Security Advisor's Nuru Ribadu's phone. Meanwhile, the Abuja residence of the former governor of Kaduna State was searched on Thursday by the officials of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC.
Very distinguished politicians and of course people that understand what the polity is about. And yes, of course, we'll be also taking the speech of Mr. President immediately after signing the Electoral Act 2026 amended copy now. So let's get to watch that reaction from Mr. President.
I followed keenly what you are doing. The essence of democracy is to have, very solid brainstorming discussions committed to national development and nation building, the stability of the nation. It's not as important as the history aspect of this. What is crucial is the fact that you manage the process to the extent there will be no confusion, no disenfranchisement of Nigerians, and we are all going to see democracy flourish. It is time that we have confidence in our system. No matter how good a system is, it's managed by the people, promoted by the people, and the result is finalized by the people. In fact, for final results, you are not going to be talking to the computer, you are going to be talking to human beings who will announce the final results. And when you look at the crux of various arguments, maybe Nigeria should question our broadband capability. How technically are we today? How technically will we be tomorrow to answer the call of either real time or no? And as long as you appear personally as a manual voter in any polling booth, but ballot paper is given to you manually, you decide in a corner and fingerprint, thumbprint the party of your choice, you cast your vote without hindrance and any interference. Ballots are subsequently counted manually, sorted and counted manually. It's just the arithmetic accuracy that is entered into from easy. It's still manual, essentially. The transmission of that manual result is what we're looking at. And we need to avoid glitches. I'm glad you did. Interference, unnecessary hacking in this age of, computer inquisitiveness. Nigeria will be there. We will flourish. We will continue to nurture this democracy.
You've heard Mr. President also sharing his opinion on the current, back and forth of the real-time transmission of results. And yes, he talked about the process being manually conducted. You are going to vote manually. You're going to, of course, write all the results manually. So why we're afraid of manual, adding manual to the process as well in terms of the real-time transmission of the result. But of course, the voices that have been critical about opposing this particular initiative or idea of the National Assembly changing that is really talking about their past experiences. They've talked about, trust deficit on the side of the INEC. Yes, they trust INEC enough to allow them use their discretion this time around. Maybe they are just talking out of the fear of what has happened before when it comes to election. But of course, you can also be part of this discussion as we await our guest to join us. But let's critically look at some of the challenges Nigerians have been facing. Some have criticized the fact that we do not really have enough voters when it comes to our democracy, when it comes to election days. And yes, people come out, but not enough people come out to vote, especially those registered. But of course, you can also add your voice to the conversation by calling the studio line. What do you feel about this current amendment by the National Assembly? And of course, the President has signed that, assented to it. When you check the 2025 general election, you'll see that about 67.4 million Nigerians actually registered to vote. And of course, only 29.43 million Nigerians cast their vote. That's equivalent of 43.65% of registered voters. You move down to 2019 elections. You also have the same thing, going by the registered voters of 82.34 million Nigerians that registered. And of course, 28.61 million votes were cast. And yes, you turn out, the statistics will say that 34.75% of registered voters in 2019 elections. You go quickly to the most recent elections, which is the 2023 general elections. Registered voters, 93.47 million Nigerians. Votes cast, 24.9 million registered voters actually cast their votes. And yes, the percentage is 26.7% of registered voters. These, of course, are statistics that are troubling for most people that believe Nigeria should have gone way above where we are now. And why are people not coming out to vote even after they have registered to vote? These are the concerns that is being addressed or that are being addressed ahead of the 2027 general election, with the fact that the people should trust the process if they would also be part of the process. If the government want them to be part of the process, they have to, as a matter of fact, trust the process with which that would come on. So let's get to listen to your view when it comes to this amendment. What do you feel as a critical stakeholder in Nigeria? And of course, we would get to aggregate all this at the end of the program, as our guests will come in, will be coming in to give us details about how they feel, share their perspectives on the particular topic. The studio line is on the screen. You can be a part of the discussion this lovely afternoon. And let's get the conversation started. 2027 general election, INEC and credibility concerns. Are you also concerned as a Nigerian? Why are you concerned? Really, why? Why should you be concerned? Why do we even complain? That's another angle to it. People talk about the election process not being credible enough, but they stay away when it comes to voting. The registration, INEC started registration very recently, and of course INEC has also shared the good news that they are very impressed because over 50% of the people that registered online completed the process, which is a good news. But how much of that is going to translate to the real vote on election day? These are the critical challenges that we are confronted with in our democracy. Democracy is a beautiful process, but only if the people can drive it. And that's why this conversation is critical to our positions as stakeholders, as citizens of Nigeria. Again, the studio line is on the screen, and of course, if you would like to join us, we would, of course, one of our guests, he is here with us in the studio, who will have to take a break now. After that, the guests will be taking the questions. Please stay with us. Of course, you're still on Political Update on Ogun State Television. The program, of course, the topic for today's discussion is 2027 general elections, INEC and credibility concerns. I told you earlier that I would be having two guests on the program. One of them is here in the studio, and of course, he is Honorable Adekunle Abdulkabir Akinlade. He's a former Senior Special Assistant on Taxation and Revenue, former member of the House of Representatives, the Allied People's Movement governorship candidate in the 2019 election, and of course, deputy governorship candidate of the People's Democratic Party in 2023. Thank you so much for joining us on Political Update.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, with this wealth of experience, reading through the different, stages that you've been in your life, different political platforms, and we'd like to start by getting to feel your pulse. It's exactly what it is you think about INEC at this critical time, looking at your own background, contested on different platforms, contested different political positions, and of course, ahead of the 2027 election, what's your assessment of INEC right now?
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, Nigerians, and wishing everybody, Ramadan at Karim. And the Lent too. Most of us, the Christian, are also be observing our Lent. So I pray God accepts our supplications. Whichever way we look at it, our democracy is evolving in the right direction. We have come a long way from 1999 to where we are today. For whichever way, whatever way you look at it, you will agree with me that what we had in 1999 in terms of INEC operations and all that, where most of the operations were fully manual. Then we had the issue of ballot snatching and all that, and where people could sit down and just write results. But as each election cycle, we get more improvement. Since 2019, when they had the card reader, deployed the card reader and all that, you said that people, not because we don't have challenges, which of course in any process that has to do with human beings, there has to be that with people being involved in the process, of course there will be challenges. But in terms of INEC as an institution, I think a lot has been done. Now today we talk about vote buying, because it has become very not fashionable for you to snatch ballot boxes anymore. It's become not fashionable for you to just sit down somewhere and just write results. So if that is where we are, and where we're, at least based on where we are today, with the new electoral signed by the president, you will see that a lot will change. Unlike then, when we had 3 processes for parties, where you have either the direct primary, indirect primaries, then you have, of course, consensus. Now they said with the indirect primary, it has to do with delegates. And when you have a few people, then you have issues. But if they say direct primary, that means every member of the party will come out to choose who they want to represent them, or consensus, where the party within themselves. It will be more economical, it will be more involved for stakeholders to sit down and make that decision. It will make INEC's work more tidier when it comes to selection of candidates for parties. So I'm confident that we're doing good. I'm confident we've come a long way, and I have no doubt in my heart that
so with the current amendment of the Electoral Act by the National Assembly, and of course the assent by Mr. President, is this actually going to guarantee, because you've seen different debates in the course of the week where different groups, civil society organizations, and of course the opposition political parties are coming hitting hard on the National Assembly for them to even quickly rush down to actually fix some things in the Electoral Act. So do you think this particular document would lead to more transparent election ahead of this 2027, or maybe in the 2027 election now?
If we take it this way, in the purpose, the role and the duty of the National Assembly is to look at every election cycle and look at what the challenges are and try to improve on it, in the next election cycle, which is really what you just said. There were challenges in 2020, 2023. There are challenges, naturally, yes, there were challenges. And I think what they've been able to do now is to look at that document and say, listen, if we want elections to be transmitted, real time, then we need to have in place the infrastructure, the system, the processes that will enable every individual from every polling unit across Nigeria to be able to transmit results real time. Now, the Constitution is very clear, because it's about everybody. So if at any point that we know that there is one polling unit where results cannot be transmitted at real time, I think, because the people who will vote in that polling unit are Nigerians. So the Act itself has to accommodate that, which is what the National Assembly have done, to say yes, results should be transmitted electronically. But in areas where it is impossible to carry that out, to do that, the physical manual process, the form, the result sheet should be taken, accepted, to be presented as the result of that polling unit. And I believe that the National Assembly have done the right thing, and I believe that we'll continue to improve. By 2027, let us see what we achieve with this. By 2027, then we'll see what the next level.
Okay, 2027 is just around the corner. Nigerians are hopeful that an election would change the face of development in Nigeria. And of course, when we checked the statistics of the last 3 elections, we discovered that voter apathy is increasing on a daily basis. It shows that the concerns that most Nigerians are having right now with respect to the trust that they have in the electoral process, it's valid. So when you check the 2015 election, You have registered voters to be 67.4 million Nigerians. And of course, the people that came out to vote aggregate were 29.43 million Nigerians. That's about 43.65% of voters. Yes, you also have in 2019 election, you have about 28.61% million Nigerians rather, and of course about 34.75% of registered voters actually voted in that election. Coming down to 2023, where you have something reduced as well, 26.7% of Nigerians voting. Are you bothered as a politician that this democracy that is said is the government of the people, for the people, and by the people? The people are not driving it. Are you bothered as a politician?
I would not say. I believe, as an active player in the process, that it is not because people don't want to come out to vote, but because it is not convenient because of the issue of insecurity. If you look at Nigeria, the geopolitical zone, the three northern zones are perpetually under, going through insecurity challenges, which means people coming out to, to exercise their franchise becomes almost impossible. Less than maybe 7, 9, or 12% of those who actually will have come out to vote are the people who are going to access the polling units. Now you come to the, the south, the southeast, and the southwest. If you look at the ratio within areas where the insecurity is a bit less and areas where it is high, you see that the voting pattern will be more where there is more secure zones than the insecure zones. And the northern part of the country carries a larger number of voters in terms of population. So if the insecurity is high in the northeast and north central and northwest, of course less people will be able to come out and vote. But if you look at what has happened, is that because of the challenges of insecurity from 2015 to 2019, it got worse, 2019 to 2023. Now, if you look at the efforts of this administration, what the APC-led administration is doing in fighting insecurity, and all the efforts that has been put, the U.S., collaboration with the U.S. today, and all that. And thank God it's happening now. In the next 6 months, you will see that things, things will start to stabilize in terms of security, and you'll see that the number naturally will go up. Well,
I agree with some of the things you said, but I disagree with some because, of course, as young as I was, there was nothing people coming out in large numbers to participate in the process. Over the years, there's always been like that before insecurity started. And I recall the last election that I think I was on radio then, and it was a local government election. And anybody calling on radio to say they did not participate, I just end the call. Basically because we complain, they talk about the attitude of the elites towards election. Largely, the people that come out to vote are the people that are the artisans, the market women, all of those people form the larger group of people that come to vote. So the attitude of the elite to elections is also critical at this point, apart from the security aspect that you've mentioned. Over the years, we've recorded that. So what message do you think you have for people that deliberately stay off elections just because of the narrative that they keep pushing? We don't trust the process. That's just the excuse that they keep giving. And largely, we'll say that the politicians are being given the opportunity to do whatever they have to do when it comes to election day, whether they want to rig or they want to buy vote or they don't want to buy vote. So staying away is something that is critical again, apart from the security challenges. What do you have to say?
Let me start from the issue of the airlines and the artisans and all that. The airlines represent just about 1% of the population. Those we attend the airlines. They represent, we are the artisans, we are the farmers. So they represent
I disagree with that.
They represent about just 1%.
You can't be the farmers here. So, you are part of the elite.
So they represent just 1%. They're about the 1% of the population.
Okay.
Now, if out of this 1%, if the 1% of the population is about, let's say, about 2 million, 2 million Nigerians who fall within the airlines. So if you have about 500,000 of them coming out to vote, that's a large number of them voting. But that's what I'm saying, that the issue, because these individuals, the airlines vote because they have access to security. They have access to escorts. So they can actually walk straight into the polling unit, the polling booth, cast their vote and go back home. But the majority of Nigerians, who don't have access to secure, to the security apparatus of states will not be able to exercise their franchise. Quite unfortunate. So, as I said, because voting, of course, is a right, but you still have a choice if you want to participate or not. You still have a choice if you want to participate or not.
There is this debate that we should make it compulsory. The rights that you talked about, it's part of the duty of every Nigerian to participate in the process. So whether we have a choice or not is not debatable. That's what some group of people are saying. That if every decision that is going to be made in every administration is going to affect the lives of every Nigerian at different times, it means that we should make the process compulsory for all voting age. So I don't know if you agree with that. I don't know if that can help in putting the right, because most of these challenges you've addressed are challenges that we think, or the people believe, that electing a particular person into office is going to take away all the problems. But that's not what we see. We still have challenges. You said 6 months, into maybe 6 months, next 6 months things will be different. But those challenges are still there. Poverty is still on the increase. Population is increasing really, but of course, the basic things of life, we still struggle with that in Nigeria. So what do you think we can do to ensure the right people get to power so that they can fix the challenges of the common people?
Let me take this way. The beautiful thing about the Constitution and democracy is that the liberty, the right of choice is clearly entrenched in our Constitution. And even the UN Charter on Human Rights, that I should be able to decide if I want to participate in something or not. Because when you start with one, making voting compulsory, when you start with one, then someone comes tomorrow and say we should make faith compulsory. Everybody must be Christian, everybody must be Muslim, everybody must wake up at 7 a.m. in the morning, everybody must go to bed by, this is not China, or this is not, where we have the communists, where you can then say everybody must come out, if you don't, everybody you go to jail. This is not North Korea. This is Nigeria, this is a democracy. So in a democracy, choice is paramount. So secondly, we see the challenges we find ourselves today as a country. You must look at this administration in the last 2.5 years or so, 2 years, 7 months. Look at what we've been able to achieve as a people, as a country. You see, because of course governance is continuum. And of course, when you look at, you say, the 8 years under, the late Muhammad Buhari, and the 2.5 years, we're talking about 10.5 years of APC government. Of course, and we take full responsibility because it's our party. We take full responsibility. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that we restore hope within people, we restore the economy, we restore infrastructures, we restore stability and security across the country, which is something that this administration it's putting so much energy to make sure that people feel safe. If people feel safe, it's only when things are secure that people can go back to farm, that food can increase. When production increases, price will fall, the common man will be able to eat, everybody will be able to be comfortable, then people will be able to come out and vote. So there are layers of challenges which this administration inherited. And if you look at the policy of this administration, from the deregulation of the naira, from the removal of subsidy, if you look at every decision had been deliberate of this administration. And that's why I believe that between now and the end of this 2026, you will see a lot of shift in the area of insecurity, and you have no doubt that...
That's part of what the people are saying. They're saying that before election, there's always this rush to fix things before the election so that people have a different perception from the beginning. So how are we ensuring that this is institutionalized and not just prior to election or election year is when things will get better?
Well, the beautiful thing about this party under our president, President, Bola Ahmed, is that most of the policies of this administration were not things that just started maybe a week ago. From day one, this is the first president who is a politician. This is the first president in the history of Nigeria who was really prepared to be president. The first president. Every other ones were accidental. They were picked up, they were brought in, they were made. Just look at our history. This is the first man who was clear what he wanted to be. He wanted to be president. He knew what it takes. He knew what it takes to achieve that. And from day one, he didn't wait until maybe 2026 to now start remove subsidy, bring in. No, from day One, he said no subsidy, no to multiple forex rates, no to this. The what they call the coastal road and most of the projects you look at, from day one he knew what he wanted to do. He came in, he put everything on ground, deployed resources for it. And as I say, people like myself in the past would not even have considered farming. Today I'm a farmer. I own farm, I have cows, I have own sheep, I own poultry and all that. Because I have come to realize that except I start to produce, to earn, I will continue to spend. And when you spend and spend, when you find yourself in a position of authority, you want to maintain that same, spending spree when you are not even producing. But today I know I can go back, I can call Ikokia today now and tell them, oh, I need to raise 2 million naira. I know what they need to do in the farm and in my farm, and I'll raise 2 million naira.
Okay, we need to take a break now. I think the second guest is here to join us to share his own perspectives on political update on Ogun State Television. Please stay with us. You're welcome back. This is still Political Update on Ogun State Television. We're now being joined by another guest from Abuja, Mr. Samaila Musa. Mr. Samaila Musa is the National Coordinator, Grassroots Mobilization Initiative, and of course he's also the former Director of Strategic Communications, Coalition of Northern Groups. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
All right, from a grassroots mobilization standpoint, how would you describe public sentiment in the northern region regarding trust in INEC and the 2020?
How do I describe what? I didn't get you from the beginning. How do I describe what you said?
Okay, how do you describe public sentiment in the northern state, northern Nigeria now, with respect to this 2027 election coming, and of course the amendment taking place, just the one the president assented to this week?
Yeah, all right. So on a general note, is that this administration has set out on the right footing, came out strong, displayed strong leadership, courage, because it takes a lot of courage to actually go in the way of implementing some of the policies this administration came with from the onset. It takes boldness, takes quite a lot of balls to be able to do that. Mr. President came out boldly and reiterated the fact that he's coming for business from the one that he of his inauguration. So yeah, by and large, for a lot of elites, they believe those policies, even from the onset, are not going to come easy. But it takes a lot of, it's going to require a lot of sacrifice to be able to go through this period. Or that period, at least the first 2 years were a bit harder and harsher, which is expected anyway. We're a country that is used to largesse, kind of. We been living fake life all this while anyway, even though quite a lot of people, both in the opposition and people in government, have always come to the realization that policies like subsidy will have to go. But you need a president who's got that ball to say I'm the one who's going to roll it. President Buhari also tried to do it about 2 or 3 times, but the people around him told him, "You're going to lose the goodwill you've always enjoyed in the north, because the masses who have always been with you will believe you are now anti-masses." Yeah, well, we're here today. The Nigerians have gone through a lot, which is part of the sacrifice to go through. Things are beginning to, regularize, but the challenge is, once things go high in Nigeria, it takes quite a lot of seriousness on the part of the government to make sure that the parties involved or stakeholders will adhere to changes per time. If things started coming down, you have to put mechanism in place to monitor, to make sure that, if fuel is actually coming down, it must trickle down to the masses or the downtrodden, you know what I mean? Where we live in a country where there's no, this sporadic or this culture of saying government put an eye on what everything is being sold for, So there's a need actually to put a body in place to say, look, we are monitoring what price you're selling. You're selling when this was X amount. Now you're still selling when it is still, like 10% downward. So really, that's where the challenge is. But on a general note, I think things are a bit simmering down compared to when the first 1 year when it started. Yeah. Okay,
talking about INEC and of course the credibility concern, the people, you've seen the opposition to the amendment of the electoral bill, that's the 2026 amendment. Of the 2022 rather, and of course before the president passed it or assented to it. Let's talk about what other groups are saying. The civil society organizations actually wanted a situation where elections are transmitted, real time, and they requested for that in the last election. And of course, the opposition political parties are also saying the same. They were protesting at the National Assembly, and this brought a different kind of narrative that this is possible if they really would invest in it. Talking about close to ₦1 trillion budget for the 2027 election. So why is it not possible to transmit real time? That's part of the challenges that people are having with the current amendment, by the National Assembly. I don't know what you think about this, whether those, talking about it they actually have value points or not. Maybe you tell us.
Yeah, so I know I've listened to the argument from both sides of the divide over time. The people who are actually pushing for it might have sinister motive, because that's what the people who are saying, look, let it still go on manually. By and large, it doesn't mean, if you say you want to transmit, electronically or whatever it is, it's not like people are going to be casting their votes electronically, but rather, votes are still going to be counted manually anyway. It's saying, okay, we got 86 votes for X party here, and Y party got 97. So we're going to put it on record that this is it, and party agents are going to attest to that same result, and then we're going to impute it electronically to take it over. Now, the people who are saying no, it shouldn't be electronically, simply just saying, look, the problem with that is we have incidences of having some glitches. We also had rumor of people saying some people are wanting to bring hackers to intercept this results and manipulate them, and that is why the other group is saying no. But whatever it is, I think the National Assembly is saddled with this responsibility. Well, let's see if the process is being transparent enough. Let's see how it goes. The idea is we just don't want a situation where a minority will try to stampede the process, that because we have an ulterior motive, our own side of the argument must be the one that is going to take the day. You know what I mean? So if it goes through voting and whoever wins, that's the direction to go. But both sides of the device are trying to make a point, which I think well, the leadership of the National Assembly will actually use its own wisdom to arrive at a point. But basically, in my opinion, is that the issue of the idea of some people bringing in hackers to intercept the results electronically and all that, which we had some incidences in the previous election saying, oh, some persons actually are working with hackers to manipulate the result. That area needs to be looked into, holistically, you know what I mean, to make sure that every loophole, but it all depends on which side of the divide is actually within the argument. Okay. Yeah, okay. That's my take.
Okay, thank you for your take, and of course coming back into the studio. Let's engage the part of sensitization. I listened to Mr. President talked about the process being manually conducted. So why are people afraid of including manual in the results, transmission if they do not have, infrastructure in places where that cannot work? So the level of sensitization of the people right now. So how well is the political parties that we have, your political parties, is ensuring that we have people, Nigerians, understanding this process and how it works?
I believe that the people, and I believe the people understand what the challenges are and the opportunities available to everyone, every Nigerian. What I think is the issue is not the people, but the elites, the few elites, who have their own, like my brother just said, ulterior motives. We are in a country where an individual claimed on national TV to have hacked the phone of the National Security Advisor of a nation. You know what that means? So if they have the capability to hack the phone of, that's supposed to be the most secure line, the most secure technology you can think of, the National Security Advisor to the President or to the nation, and somebody can come on national TV to say that it was hacked. Now that should tell you the dangers that if care is not taken, things might implode. And for even when we talk about man by nature, God, the way God created man by nature, even if you're going to turn out to be Samson, the most powerful man or anything, you must first, as a baby, crawl, you must stumble and walk, you must walk, you must stand, learn to wear your shoes, and gradually you go into young man, you go into a teenager, into a man, and then an adult. Our democracy is evolving. Our democracy is growing. Our democracy, the American, the European economy, democracy you're talking about today, 250 years ago, 200 years ago, 150 years ago, they were not even where we are. If you look at how far we've come, between our democracy today, where we have as a nation today, how many years we've been trying this. If you remove the years that the military incursions and come to where we have proper democracy, at least this Fourth Republic, 1999 to date. Our electoral process have gone through so much development and advancement in this short period than even most of this modern democracy we're talking about. So I believe that the challenge is not the people. The people who work in my farm, for example, don't even understand electronic transmission of results. What they understand is to go out there and stand in the sun, cast their vote, stand there, have it counted in their presence, have the results, have the results collated, and announce for them at that point. They know how many who won that. Okay, because of our time, what must be done, ahead of this 2020? From now, what must INEC, the critical stakeholders now, and of course the political gladiators, what must they do differently to ensure that the trust that the people have with the process is actually restored? The government, our party and the government, this administration, is doing everything that needs to be done already in terms of taking the right decisions, in terms of policy base, in terms of sensitization, reaching out to people and all that, and letting them understand that this is whatever decisions we're taking as a government is in the best interest of our country. All right. And I believe that is what we should be doing. We're doing already. Okay, Mr. Musa, are you still with us? Okay, maybe you tell us your position. What do you think the government can do differently, and of course the political gladiators can do differently? What do I think the government can do differently to restore the trust,
I don't know whether the trust has been there at all, but of course we could see that the back and forth is that we don't trust ourselves. So if that is the case, what must be done by this administration to ensure that the people trust
so
the process?
you're talking about the election, yeah?
Exactly.
Okay, so what I think the government is going to do is, well, prior to, just like you mentioned, we have issue of trust in Nigeria. I know some groups are already raising some petitions against the INEC chairman because at some point he was actually consulted by some persons to write a report against a particular Islamic group some years ago, and because of that they are saying no, he's not fit to conduct an election in Nigeria. But that, in my opinion, does not actually mean he's not a man of integrity. He's a lawyer. If he's contacted by an armed robber to defend him, I don't see anything wrong in him going right ahead and doing what he is trained to do. But the issue of trust has been there in Nigeria for quite some time. What people do in Nigeria all the time is that the people in opposition always find faults. There's no system that is ever satisfactory to people who are in opposition. So it's expected. There's nobody you're going to bring as the INEC chairman or to be an umpire on the day of election that is going to satisfy all the parties. Some people will still be aggrieved. Some people will say something went wrong. And there are some people who already they are planning a protest even before the election. How they're going to go ahead with their protest that they lost out of the election. So the Nigerian system really does not permit anyone to actually do something that will be clear to everyone. The only thing that the government can do is to make sure that they're a bit more transparent in the sense that the level of trust into some to some parties who are actually apolitical, some parties who are not taking sides with anyone will be able to see that, well, this system is transparent enough. Okay. And I think that's all they need to do.
All right, thank you so much, gentlemen, for being my guest on Political Update today on Ogun State Television. We've been speaking with Honorable Adekunle Abdulkabir Akinlade, a politician, and of course, Mr. Samaila Musa, the National Coordinator of Grassroots Mobilization Initiative. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, Political Update will continue next week.